A galaxy built on empires, predictions, and rebellion has finally reached its breaking point. The finale of Foundation Season 3 doesn't just end a season, it changes everything we thought we knew about the future of humanity. Loyalties are shattered, destinies collide, and the very foundation of Hari Seldon's grand plan is tested like never before. The finale of Foundation Season 3 feels like the reward for years of storytelling, a payoff to storylines about power, survival, and the battle between control and chaos. Before diving into the events of Episode 10, let's take a moment to understand where the story stood at the edge of this final chapter throughout Season 3. The series has been building momentum toward a galactic confrontation that could decide the future of trillions. At the heart of this struggle is Hari Seldon's legendary Psychohistory, a science of prediction that maps out the rise and fall of empires with chilling accuracy. Yet, as the season unfolded, one question kept haunting every character: can destiny truly be controlled, or will human choices forever disrupt even the most perfect plan? Episode 9 left us with several threads dangling and the tension at its peak. The Cleon Dynasty, the ruling genetic clones who have governed the Empire for centuries, was more fractured than ever. Brother Day's grip on power was slipping, his arrogance tested by betrayals both inside and outside the court. Brother Dawn and Brother Dusk were trapped between loyalty to the system and the realization that the system itself might be doomed. The aura of invincibility that once surrounded the Empire had begun to crack. Meanwhile, far from the halls of imperial power, Hari Seldon's followers, the Foundation, were rallying for survival. Hari himself, both as a man and as an idea, continued to manipulate events from the shadows, guiding humanity toward the Second Foundation's rise. But his allies, especially Gaal Dornick and Salvor Hardin, carried their own burdens. Gaal wrestled with visions of the Mule, the terrifying mutant warlord whose arrival threatened to derail Seldon's predictions completely. Salvor, brave yet haunted, was forced to question what sacrifices might be demanded to ensure the survival of humanity. And then there was the Mule. Throughout Season 3, his shadow loomed larger with each episode. The Mule isn't just another warlord or rebel. He's something different, something unpredictable. Gifted with psychic abilities that can bend entire populations to his will, he represents the one variable Seldon never accounted for. His presence isn't just a danger, it's a direct attack on the very foundation of psychohistory itself. Episode 9 made it clear that his rise was inevitable, and Episode 10 promised to reveal just how unstoppable he could be. By the time we reach the finale, all these storylines collide, empires collapse not in silence but in fire. Plans centuries in the making unravel in a single moment of human choice. And characters we've followed since the very beginning face their most defining trials. The Season 3 finale doesn't hold back, it's a story of endings, but also of terrifying beginnings. The setup is essential to truly feel the weight of Episode 10. The world of Foundation has always been more than a backdrop of spaceships and palaces. It's a galaxy that mirrors our own struggles with power, faith, freedom, and destiny. And in this finale, those struggles reach their most dramatic turning point yet. The finale begins with a sense of dread. From the very first frame, we can feel the galaxy hanging on the edge of collapse. The once uncheckable empire ruled for centuries by the cloned Cleons is now at its most vulnerable. Brother Day, whose arrogance has long defined him, faces the crumbling of everything he thought eternal. His throne no longer guarantees power, and his enemies no longer fear his name. The great palace that once symbolized strength is filled with whispers of betrayal and the faint echoes of its impending fall. The episode wastes no time raising the stakes. Brother Day, desperate to preserve his legacy, lashes out with cruelty and paranoia. He sees enemies in every corner, whether it's Brother Dawn, whose quiet defiance hints at rebellion, or Brother Dusk, who has grown tired of living as a shadow of past versions. For the first time in generations, the Cleons do not act as one. Instead, they crumble as individuals, consumed by doubt, ambition, and fear. What was once a dynasty of clones bound by unity is now a family tearing itself apart. Meanwhile, the Foundation makes its most daring move yet. Hari Seldon, existing both as a man and a guiding spirit of ideas, pushes his allies into choices that will define the fate of humanity. Gaal Dornick steps into her role as the reluctant prophet. She has seen the future, the rise of the Mule, and she knows what's coming. Her visions drive her forward, but they also burden her with fear. Can she change what's been foreseen, or is she just another player in Hari's long game? Salvor Hardin stands at her side, braver than ever, but scarred by loss. She has fought across timelines, worlds, and wars, and in this finale, her courage is put to the ultimate test. Every decision she makes in episode 10 feels like a thread in a larger tapestry of sacrifice. She represents the human cost of Seldon's grand plan, a reminder that behind every prediction, real lives are at stake. Then, there is the Mule. His presence finally erupts into full force. For much of Season 3, he was a shadow lurking on the edges of the story, but now, he storms into the center stage. With his psychic abilities, he bends armies and civilizations to his will, breaking through the careful predictions of psychohistory. As though they were fragile glass, his power is not just military, it is psychological. Entire populations surrender to him not because of fear, but because he rewrites their very sense of loyalty. He is more than a conqueror. He is a nightmare of inevitability, the confrontation between Hari's vision of the future and the Mule's uncontrollable rise is the heartbeat of this finale. Episode 10 doesn't play out as a single battle, but as a series of clashes, physical, emotional, and ideological. Every scene pulses with tension. The Cleons face the rebellion of their people and their own fractured unity. The Foundation struggles to hold on to its purpose while standing against a force it was never prepared for. And Gaal is caught in the center, torn between following Hari's logic and fighting for her own free will. One of the most powerful sequences comes when the Cleons are forced to face the truth. The Empire is no longer eternal. The genetic dynasty, once seen as unshakable, collapses under the weight of its own vanity. The camera lingers on Brother Day's fury as his empire slips away, not with the roar of victory, but with the silence of inevitability. The Empire, the promised stability for centuries, falls apart in a single generation, proving that history cannot be chained forever. But perhaps the most heartbreaking moment belongs to Salvor Hardin. Without spoiling the precise details, her sacrifice reshapes the path forward. It is both a moment of deep tragedy and profound meaning, showing us that in a galaxy ruled by predictions and probabilities, individual choices still carry weight. Her fate reminds us that psychohistory may guide the many, but it cannot erase the power of one person's courage. As the finale pushes toward its last act, the Foundation and the Empire both stand at crossroads. The Mule's victory feels unstoppable. Hari's predictions seem on the brink of failure, and yet a spark of hope remains in the most unlikely places. Episode 10 ends not with resolution but with transformation. Everything is different. Everything has changed. The galaxy has entered a new age, one shaped not by the old rules of empires and science, but by forces beyond prediction. The finale of Foundation Season 3 doesn't just tie up loose ends, it redefines the very meaning of destiny. In this story, Episode 10 asks a simple but terrifying question. If the future is already written, what does that mean for free will? And if the future can be changed, then how reliable is Hari Seldon's grand vision at all? At its core, the ending is about confrontation between two forces, predictability versus chaos. Hari Seldon represents the dream that human behavior, across centuries, can be mapped and shaped. His psychohistory is designed to guide humanity through dark ages with as little suffering as possible. But the Mule represents the anomaly, the chaos, the living proof that no equation can account for every possibility. When he takes control, bending masses of people to his will, he isn't just conquering armies, he's conquering the very laws of history. The rules Hari set in place suddenly look fragile. This clash forces every character to confront what they believe in. Gaal Dornick becomes the embodiment of doubt and hope combined. She sees the future in terrifying flashes, the Mule's empire stretching across galaxies, unstoppable and merciless. But she also represents the voice of resistance. Unlike Hari, who trusts in numbers, Gaal believes in people, their capacity to choose, to fight, to resist control. Her final choices in the episode suggest that the future isn't only about predictions. It's about individuals willing to step outside of them. The Cleon Dynasty's downfall is another critical layer of the ending. For 3 seasons, we've watched the Empire portray itself as eternal, a perfect line of cloned rulers designed to eliminate uncertainty. But the finale reveals the truth. Perfection was always a lie. The Cleons, despite their identical faces, were never truly the same. Brother Day's arrogance, Brother Dawn's yearning for freedom, Brother Dusk's quiet rebellion, all of these cracks prove that identity cannot be controlled forever. The end of their reign isn't just a political collapse. It's the destruction of the illusion that humanity can be tamed through cloning, order, or tradition. In a way, the Cleons fall for the same reason as Hari's equations. They forgot about individuality. Salvor Hardin's sacrifice is the emotional centerpiece of the finale. While Hari and Gaal fight over visions of destiny, Salvor makes a choice rooted in the present, not the future. Her death, or rather, her decision to give everything for others, becomes a powerful statement. It shows that no matter how large the stage of history may be, individual courage still matters. She becomes the reminder that humans are not numbers in an equation and not just pawns in the Mule's game. They are capable of shaping history through sacrifice. Thematically, Episode 10 also plays with the cycle of rebirth and transformation. Just as the Empire falls, the Mule rises. Just as Hari's predictions falter, a new path emerges. This cycle reflects one of Foundation's oldest ideas. Civilizations are not eternal, but neither is collapse permanent. One order falls, so another can rise, and within that cycle, humanity evolves. The finale doesn't present this as a comforting truth, it presents it as a challenge. If cycles cannot be broken, what role do individuals have in shaping them? The final scenes point toward a future defined by uncertainty. The Mule's shadow stretches across the galaxy, promising domination unlike anything seen before. The second Foundation, hinted at throughout the season, feels more crucial than ever, a possible answer to the Mule's unchecked power. And Hari's legacy hangs in the balance. Was he a prophet, a manipulator, or simply a man blinded by faith in his own science? Episode 10 doesn't give us easy answers. It leaves us in the space between faith and doubt. What makes the ending so powerful is how personal it feels, even on such a massive scale. Behind the spaceships and galactic wars, we see characters stripped to their most vulnerable truths. Hari confronted with failure. Gaal forced to lead despite fear, the Cleons watching their legacy collapse. Salvor showing that love and sacrifice can shape history as much as power and prophecy. These aren't just plot points, they are statements about humanity itself. In the end, the finale of Season 3 doesn't just set up the next chapter, it reframes the entire story we've been watching. Foundation is no longer only about a science of history. It's about the limits of prediction, the danger of absolute power, and the unshakable truth that even in a universe of equations, human choice still matters. The Season 3 finale of Foundation is not just an ending, it's a turning point that redefines the entire series. Episode 10 delivers a bold mixture of spectacle, philosophy, and heartbreak, wrapping up the season in a way that feels both deeply satisfying and shockingly open-ended. If the earlier seasons were about setting the chessboard, this finale is the moment when all the pieces collide, shatter, and scatter into unpredictable directions. Let's start with the strengths because they are undeniable. The writing in Episode 10 finally balances the intellectual weight of the show with raw emotion. Previous episodes sometimes lean too heavily on exposition, but here the ideas and the feelings walk hand in hand. Hari's confrontation with failure, Gaal's conflict between fear and leadership, Salvor's sacrifice, and the Cleons' collapse, each storyline lands with emotional resonance. You feel the weight of every decision, not just because of what it means for the galaxy, but because of what it reveals about the characters themselves. Visually, the finale stands as some of the show's most stunning work. The fall of the Empire. is portrayed not just with explosions and battles, but with carefully framed images that highlight fragility. A crumbling palace, flickering lights in a once glorious city, the slow, ominous rise of the Mule's armies, it all feels cinematic. The show manages to capture the grandeur of a galaxy-spanning epic while still keeping the camera intimate on faces filled with doubt, rage, and despair. This combination of scale and intimacy is where Foundation shines the brightest, performance-wise. The cast deserves immense credit. The actors portraying the Cleons bring out layers we hadn't fully seen before day's pride turning to desperation. Dusk's quiet sorrow, dawn's longing for individuality. These performances give the dynasty's downfall an almost Shakespearean tragedy. Gaal Dornick emerges as the emotional anchor of the finale, torn between visions of destiny and her desire to fight for choice. And Salvor Hardin's final stand is played with such conviction that it lingers long after the credits roll. This is one of those rare episodes where you remember the performances as much as the plot, but of course no finale is perfect. Some viewers may feel frustrated by the number of unanswered questions. What exactly is the scope of the Mule's power? How can Hari adapt psychohistory now that the anomaly has broken it? And what form will the second Foundation take? These mysteries are clearly left dangling for Season 4, but for some, that lack of closure may feel like a weakness. The pacing also stumbles in places. The first half of the episode builds tension slowly, while the second half accelerates at almost breakneck speed, rushing through key revelations. Despite these flaws, the finale succeeds because it never loses sight of the themes that make Foundation special. This isn't a show about who wins a throne or who loses a battle. It's about the larger forces that shape civilizations and the smaller human choices that disrupt them. Episode 10 captures that tension beautifully. The fall of the Cleons is both a political event and a personal tragedy. The rise of the Mule is both a military conquest and a philosophical threat. And Salvor's sacrifice is both an individual act of love and a cosmic turning point. As for the season as a whole, Season 3 of Foundation has been a roller coaster. It began with scattered storylines, testing the patience of some viewers, but steadily grew in focus, weaving its arcs together until the finale brought them all crashing down. If Season 2 was about building momentum, Season 3 is about tearing down walls. It strips away illusions of empire, of prediction, of permanence, and leaves us with a galaxy more uncertain and more alive than ever before, looking ahead. The setup for Season 4 is electrifying. The Mule is positioned as a villain. Unlike any other in science fiction television, one who doesn't just fight armies but rewrites history itself. The second Foundation, still lurking in the shadows, promises a clash not just of weapons but of ideas. And the survivors of Season 3 must now decide whether to follow Hari's plan, resist it, or forge something entirely new. The galaxy has entered uncharted territory, and so have we as viewers. In the end, the Foundation Season 3 finale is more than a recap of events, it's a statement of intent. It tells us that the story we're watching is not about certainty, but about struggle. Not about inevitability, but about choice. And it dares us to imagine what happens when the strongest empire falls, when the greatest plan fails, and when the most feared conqueror rises. For fans, this finale isn't just something to watch, it's something to argue about, to theorize over, to carry with us until the next season arrives. So, how do we rate this finale? It's bold, it's ambitious, it's occasionally messy, but it's unforgettable. Foundation has always aimed to balance spectacle with philosophy, and Episode 10 shows that it's capable of achieving both. It may not have answered every question, but it gave us moments we'll be talking about for years. And if that isn't the mark of a great finale, then what is?